Hello, my name is Collin Burkhalter, and this is my TPSP project, the War of 1812. The war that made the U.S. national anthem. The reason why I did this is because I wanted people to learn about the wars in the U.S. that are forgotten, and this is one of the wars that are forgotten in the U.S. Information. The War of 1812 was the second war between the U.S. and the U.K. The U.S. won its independence in the First War of the American Revolution. The War of 1812 ended without a winner. It was tragic in its loss of life, money, and property. The war grew out of quarrels over several issues. Demands for war. Once again, war with the British seemed inevitable. War hawks, as they are called, were frustrated by the British practice of oppression and determined to acquire new land and more power for their new nation. The British were also inciting Native American unrest on the frontier. On June 18, 1812, the War of 1812 began. Madison is beginning his second term in office. The War of 1812 begins. The first American plan of attack was to invade Canada, but the British and their Native American allies seized Detroit before Americans could head north. It was also difficult to invade Canada because the British controlled Lake Erie. Commodore Oliver H. Perry, the naval officer in charge of Lake Erie forces, was ordered to seize the lake of the British. Even after his ship was destroyed, Perry continued to fight. End of war. The British decided war wasn't worth the effort and reached an agreement with the Americans, but the news didn't reach Jackson or the other Federalists. On December 15, 1814, the Federalists met at the Harvard Convention to show opposition to the war. Little did they know that on December 24, 1814, the British and the Americans have signed the Treaty of the Ghent in Belgium. Wars in the war. Battle of Lake Champlain. In September 1814, British forces trying to seize the city of Plattsburgh, New York, faced the U.S. Navy at Lake Champlain. The U.S. refused to surrender in the Battle of Lake Champlain, and the British retreated. The Battle of Tippecanoe. While Tecumseh headed south to convince the Creek Nation to join his forces, Harrison attacked and defeated the Shawnee people near the Tippecanoe River in 1811. In the Battle of Tippecanoe, Tecumseh crossed to Canada to join the British troops. The Battle of New Orleans. The British forces headed south in the south decided to attack New Orleans. As they advanced on the Louisiana on January 8, 1815, an army organized by Andrew Jackson waited, marching in their typical style across an open field. The British were easy targets. Winning the Battle of New Orleans boosted Jackson's popularity, and it was the last battle of the War of 1812, and it occurred after the war had officially ended. More information. The War of 1812 continued. In October 1813, William H. Harrison, commanding the Indiana Territory, defeated the British and their Native American allies near the U.S. and Canadian border. The Battle of the Thames killed both Tecumseh and any alliance with the Creek Nation. Although the Americans had pushed the British out of the area, battles with the Native Americans, including the Creek Nation, continued. In March 1814, Andrew Jackson, the leader of the Tennessee militia, defeated the Creek Nation in the Battle of the Horseshoe Bend, forcing them to sign the Treaty of Fort Jackson and lose even more land. More information. Attack on Washington, D.C. By 1814, Napoleon had fallen from power, and British forces could focus on enemies to the west. On August 24th, 1814, the American troops were defeated in the Battle of Bladensburg, which allowed the British to sail into Chesapeake Bay. They invaded Washington, D.C., setting fire to the Capitol and the White House, and forcing Madison to flee. And the British continued up the Chesapeake to Baltimore, Maryland, intending to capture Fort McHenry. On September 13th, British warships began their attack, but because of the Americans' refusal to surrender, the British Armada eventually withdrew. Star-Spangled Banner. Before the British attack on Baltimore, the Americans raised a large flag over Fort McHenry. Francis Scott Key, a lawyer who had witnessed the night-long bombardment, saw at dawn that the flag was still there. He was so moved that he wrote a poem that was later set to music and eventually became the U.S. national anthem. More information. End of war. Continued. Treaty of the Ghent didn't resolve border and trade disputes between the U.S. and the U.K., but it increased patriotism. The treaty returned the countries the way things were before the war, because the War of 1812 cemented Americans' independence. It is also called America's Second War for Independence. American manufacturers profited since British goods weren't available. The nation seemed destined for success. Now, here's my video. Publishing by Workman. Author is Lily Rothman. Everything you need to ace about American history in one big fat notebook. This is everything except for the introduction. I got that from Botanica. And I put some of it in my own words. No, I put none of it in my own words. I just copied it. The end.